Aloha. With this video, I wanted to share some, like a perspective that had a few questions that make the perspective a little easier to see. This perspective, hold on one second. This perspective is something that I've been mentioning on this channel for a while now, even more so a little bit recently, dealing with how we define ourselves and how those definitions ultimately lead to our own enslavement. This self-enslavement, because we have been sold the maximum capacity of a Dollar Tree consciousness. So since the maximum capacity or the maximum capabilities of a Dollar Tree consciousness seem like the best thing to ever happen, like the height, like how I refer to that is that the university system, the heliocentric model, that whole public education system that is designed to teach you a false history, teach you a false understanding, and overstanding of the present moment, and teach you a false interpretation or push you into a false movement for the future. So all of these can be seen as like technology, basic technology, and you understand that the system hides technology. Well, why? That's the whole thing. A lot of people, even in the mainstream media, understand that the system holds technology, and we never ask why. And a lot of the times we don't ask these questions is because we're trapped in a consciousness that isn't required to ask questions. If you accept the maximum capabilities or capacity of a Dollar Tree consciousness, then you will also accept the limitations of that consciousness. So the limitations of this consciousness involve keeping you in the dark about who and what you are, keeping you in the dark about what this place is, keeping you in the dark about what it is that you're doing in this place. All kinds of things that are very near and dear to our deep understandings, and overstandings of what's going on. These are all thrown up in Theoryville. They're all thrown up in the air as we're evolving, so we'll figure it out someday. In the meantime, let's just continue going to McDonald's and doing all this dumb shit. So this dumb shit is the Dollar Tree consciousness. This dumb shit that's being pawned off as real life or the evolutionary peak of human existence. This is what's enslaving people. This is these are the things that people enslave themselves with. So I just wanted to do this real quick, and I always say real quick and end up going too long, but use this also as a trending page as the background so you can see, for example, what I'm talking about, because it happens all the time. Look at the videos that you're looking at right now. Is this designed for a highly intellectual being that's dedicated towards creating some kind of harmony in this realm at all, or understanding or overstanding anything that's going on here? No, of course not. This is for entertainment, and somebody's argument is that's not what this is for. This is supposed to be entertainment. It's not supposed to be giving you answers and all this other stuff or asking questions. But that's the thing. There's two worlds going on here. There's one world where the people are using this outlet and all this information for one thing. That's the intention of the people. Then you have the intention of the system. The system, well, you can feel the intention of the people by knowing, by feeling just generally, what does it mean to be human? What is this stuff? See, there's a genuine pull or drive towards figuring this stuff out. The other side of that is that you have to realize that there's a definite and genuine drive to keep you from understanding, and overstanding what that is. And since we've been trapped in this system of human and thinking we're all one and this is all like supposed to be the same and we're all in this together and all this baseline shit. This high school basketball coach sort of motivational speech for humanity bullshit that is accepted as the norm. And that story has to be played in order to keep you from understanding, and overstanding the history that led up to that high school basketball coach achieving high school basketball coach deification. That high school basketball coach is a fucking god now, because everybody is now it's like the general manager of Dollar Tree. The general manager of Dollar Tree consciousness. That's what the whole Western so-called civilization is. And the very existence of the Western so-called civilization is dedicated to making you not look at previous civilizations. And then I look at people today, and all these pyramids and all this stuff talking about actual high technology and people worshiping all technology today. Look at the disconnect you have to realize, to not even acknowledge the ancient technology, the ancestral technologies, and only worship what's going on today. That's how thick these mind controls are. That's how deep these programs go into. We trust the system more than we trust our own family, more than we trust our own ancestors. And the system, the reason why it's so trustworthy and the reason why it's so universal, it seems universal. This is another key that I never really put into words here. One reason why the Western so-called civilization is so effective and universal is because it is dealing with, at best, an adolescent consciousness. And before everybody downloads their adult versions of themselves, they are already on a baseline version of adolescence and child mind consciousness. So everybody has the child consciousness and the adolescent consciousness. That's universal as far as interactions. And then once you become an adult, then you start learning and repeating what your parents conditioned you to do. Just the same way the government or religions or whatever else conditions your parents to do a certain thing, or act a certain way, or be a certain way. So the conditioning gets passed down over and over and over again, and then we don't recognize it. Why? Because, like I said, we think that this is normal for this realm. Not only normal, but the best thing to ever happen. Genocide, the Western civilization, white supremacy, the university system, all that is accepted as the best thing to ever happen to so-called humanity. Why? Because we went to the moon, because you have a smartphone, because we have the best cars, we're the first world when everybody else is just a third world country. And you never look into why those third world countries are so messed up. Most of them because the first world country stomped all over everything and is still doing still doing that now. Look at the Polynesian people protesting every day in Hawaii and all over the islands out there. Like, this is a big thing, and the military acts like a it's funny how I pronounce that, military. Terry, they call him Terry's on there. What's that? Key and Peele. You know, I'm looking for them Terrys. I'm gonna get them Terrys. They call terrorists Terrys. So this military, this militant terrorist organization, is designed to hold that ground under the guise of being like the nicest people in the universe. So when they tell you that there's nothing in the universe, there's no intelligence in the universe, what are they telling you? Are they telling you there's nothing in the universe? No, they're telling you that they are the smartest people in the universe, that they are the discoverers of the universe, and you are just a nothing. That's why the heliocentric mind control program has to exist, to create gods and kings, nothing less. Gods and kings with this so-called intellect, this synthetic intellect, and people who are putting up on the same category or in the same level as what we are talking about, the information that we are talking about coming from an understanding, overstanding, and understanding of what's going on. The people who are putting up lies, deceit, and foolery to the umpteenth degree, trickster magic, on the same level as the truth or the information that you are pulling out from the inside and from your acknowledgement and connections with your ancestors and so on and so forth. They're not on the same. Those are two different universes. This is why that system can be so powerful, or seem so powerful, is because it gains its energy by perceiving, by playing like it's the same as you. It's not. Something is missing. Something is very much missing in the way that system plays. It's not natural. It's not in any kind of harmonic. There is no tone that is of, I can't say not in any kind of harmonic. Well, I can, because it's dealing with chaos, and chaos is, I guess somebody could loosely say chaos is a harmony of its own in its basic existence. But when you get into the realm of chaos, there's no real harmonics there. It's about anti-harmony in many ways. So, like I said, one can argue anti-harmony is a type of harmonic, as far as rhythms or frequencies go, because you can recognize it. So if you can recognize it, anyway. So by claiming that it is a civilization, by claiming that white people are an actual people that are different from other people, by claiming that this intelligence of the university system is the intellectual peak of human reality, by claiming all of that stuff, they are synthetically, or it is synthetically creating a version of reality that has nothing to do with the harmonics of this realm. It's based upon breaking the harmonics of not only this realm, but the individuals that are within this realm. Because a lot of the reasons why I did this video right now is to ask those questions. The simple questions. Like when a friend of mine was telling me about the whole Zecharia Sitchin story and how that's still out there. And I'm like, I'm automatically like, if Ancient Aliens is pumping that story out, you got to automatically put it up on the chopping block and break it down. And then beyond that, my response was, obviously with that garbage out there. And then my response was, beyond that, after having been aware of the Zecharia Sitchin storyline for now, it's not his. He's just the main one that's out there. Talking about the for people who don't know, talking about the Anunnaki, humanity is just a slave race. We were created and manipulated by extraterrestrials, or whatever you want to call it. That story. So, that story existing out there has been adopted by the New Age community, has been adopted in many different ways, has been adopted by the mainstream community through Ancient Aliens and so on and so forth. And going into the so-called origins of this reality, or what's going on, there's not that many stories that are out there. So what do you have? What? Obviously, the Big Bang. From nothing came everything. No intelligence, no nothing. Just a cosmic shart that, spawned this intelligence. And now here we are. A mixture of all the elements of shit. And then you have the religious interpretations, variations, but all that deals with some kind of deity of some kind, and some kind of it feels commercial, like commercializing the Most High, as if the Most High is as simple as this realm. No, it's too simple to commercialize something like that. So for me, but people do that in order to get a grasp on reality. Ain't nothing wrong. I used to do that too. But that's a whole realm of consciousness that is strong enough when you don't really, hold yourself accountable for getting to the nuts and bolts of what's going on. It's strong enough to trap people for entire lifetimes. So you have that, the science version, the religion version, then you have the New Age version, which is, like I just explained to you, dealing heavily with the extraterrestrials. A lot of this, the Zecharia Sitchin stuff. This is all Anunnaki, either a planet or a spaceship, or a spaceship that is a planet, and that's hurling through the universe and carrying these reptilian beasts. And some of them are good, and some of them are bad. And the ones that are bad took over the Earth, and now they're running all this thing. And side note, the Captain Marvel movie. Spoilers ahead if you're into that stuff, so you've been warned. The Captain Marvel movie is all about that. All the Marvel movies are political scenes. So Yeah, it's obvious when you see that. Blonde hair, I don't know if she has blue eyes, but blonde hair, white lady, so-called white lady, is the one who saves the day for the Avengers. She is the superhero of all superheroes. She's the one who, like, yeah, Samuel L. Jackson has to call her back, and she comes to save the day. She got her powers from an exploding science thing that was created by some other, the Kree. Yeah, for people who are into the Marvel universe. So some kind of Kree being created something, exploded, and created the space for Captain Marvel. Now she's here. She disappeared. The Avengers disappeared, and then she came back when the Avenger disappeared in this last video. So this is obviously creating a savior mode. The women's, it was released on International Women's Day, so obviously you think it's just a coincidence. No, it's a political thing. Then when you watch the movie, you see the whole timeline repeating of lifetime. So this is a very new age sort of thing, to where her future self is a superhero and her present self, or her previous self, was a regular human, just a regular old human, and then she got, hit with this alien technology. Now she's a superhero that has to save people like Thor, or gods like Thor. So yeah, so that deifies science also, again, even though it's not terrestrial science, it's supposed to be extraterrestrial science. It's focused on physical deification through science and technology. So that's existing there. Then you had the whole so it's the women's thing, the political scene, the lifetime. So that was the thing. Just we're evolving, so it's an evolution movie. We're evolving into superheroes, and eventually we'll be. This is why all the ghost stories and all this other fringe type of stuff. They always talk about psychics. That's why psychics were on the John Oliver show. So psychics, telepathy, all that, fringe, almost new age kind of stuff. This is the realm that can keep people locked into, or that kind of mentality can keep people locked for a long time, because they'll constantly be thinking, okay, it's coming. Next thing you know, how many lifetimes have passed by you have been waiting on it's coming? How many lifetimes? How many opportunities to answer your own questions? How many opportunities to ask your own questions have presented itself in that time, to where if you had only taken the moment to break out of those mind controls of that system selling you doggy treats over and over and over again, how many times would you have been able to... How could you have affected time by thinking at a higher velocity? Not that it's supposed to be a speed thing, but it's in reference to effectiveness and quality, not quantity, not just floating through time, farting along and hoping that you get a whole bunch of years under your belt. That's what's being sold to you with the American dream consciousness and so on and so forth. No, really going into the quality. What are you supposed to be doing here? What you go to sleep and you wake up every morning. Why? Why were you born here? What is this place? So that's really what I wanted to get into in reference to the definitions that we accept, and the definitions, the limitations that come with accepting that. So we just accept this bullshit of, we're here to do this certain thing based upon what? Based upon monkey evolution? Based upon the Big Bang? Like the reason why heliocentrism and the bogusness of heliocentrism is so pertinent to bringing to the surface is that because it sets the beginning of a giant tidal wave of mind control that affects us later on down the road. So it creates insecurity, it creates separation, it creates this garbageness that is a side effect to having no meaning and no purpose, and ultimately being hopeless and dead. You're in a dead universe. You're the only thing alive in the entire universe. So it estrains you. That's what the heliocentric universe. It estrains you from your most high intellect, your most high consciousness, your most high connections to all that is, like forever. So you're automatically starting out on somewhere fucked up. And look at this. Like, what problems do animals have? The biggest problem that animals have is us, people. But without people, what do animals have? Nothing, really. Just survival, not get eaten. But that's the same thing humans have. Like, don't walk into oncoming traffic. Animals think in that same term too. So how are we really different? We don't know. We are still living in an animal consciousness. You just use the word human. Tell me right now. Tell me what makes you different from an animal. There's nothing out there that you can actually say that. The point is that the system is creating definitions based, telling you it's based in truth, but it's not based in truth. It's based in reaction to a false truth. That's a different kind of reality. Reaction to a false truth might be truthful. It might make sense. That doesn't mean it's truth. It's just true in reference to that level of consciousness that you have asked the question within. So if you ask a fourth grade level of consciousness question and the individual gives you a graduation from fourth grade level of consciousness into fifth grade level of consciousness answer, you think that's the answer to all of intellect, to all of information. Why? Because you yourself are just a fourth grade level consciousness asking question ass motherfucker. So when you start asking questions to yourself that create a level of connection with intellect, connection with consciousness, connection with your ability to research and find the depths of the answers yourself. Not to always default to a book, not to always default to somebody else. Like I said with that Anunnaki story. How many origin stories do we have? Right now, people are fucking guessing at best. The so-called people in the Truther community right now are guessing at best at what the what our story is, what's going on with us. Because like I said, it really boils down to, what are you? What is this body? What's the relationship with the soul, the physical realm, the mind, and then what this place is. And those two are one and the same, if you ask me. We're all made of the same stuff. So this realm is heavily linked to your body in some kind of way. So you can basically say the body and this realm is one thing. And you are something different. Are you from here? Does your soul originate here? Is your soul limited to the limitations of this realm? Is your soul limited to the limitations within the consciousness of this realm? No, your soul is of a higher complexity than anything that this realm has thrown at you, which is why you keep waking up to evolve yourself, to learn something. There's something else. It's more than just what I'm listing off right now. I'm just saying this to create the discussion. To create within yourself or with other people, it doesn't matter. It's all the same thing. But most people who are watching this channel are kind of just hang out. I would assume people just hang out, in their own little smaller groups, and talk to people or talk with people who are looking to engage in that whole space. Anybody who's in the realms of consciousness of the worlds that I'm mentioning, a lot of people are not. Like I said, if you're in another universe or you're in another realm, you're a threat. You're basically, so just like somebody in that universe tells them something, a fourth and fifth grade, if somebody in a fourth and fifth grade level level of consciousness teaches a fourth grader something amazing, you know, fourth grade, fifth grade, amazing, that is expanding their fourth and fifth grade universe. It's evolving it. It's growing it. It's making it awesome. Somebody who tells you that there is somebody selling that person. Somebody tells you you're being sold fourth and fifth grade levels of consciousness. You're being tricked. You're being duped. You're being manipulated. Your consciousness is being fucked with. That is shrinking what they have just spent many times, entire lifetimes, growing. So your very presence is a shrinking of their universe. You don't even have to say anything. You just have to show up. Your very presence is a shrinking of their universe, and you're a threat. You must leave. You must be out of the way. So that's what happens with individual interactions. Individual interactions get like that because it's the universe that is being is like the subconscious information stream that's going on. So in reference to like you got here and when you leave, it's a bigger picture. It's not based upon even the shit that goes on within this realm. When you get here and when you leave, meaning when you're born and when you so-called die, that is a conversation or an interaction between you and the Most High. You want to take it any more than that, then that's fine. That's fine. But me, my interpretation of that, this whole realm is, like everybody say, only God can judge me now. That's the whole thing. I was with the Most High in some kind of way, at least in the transition to my space. If it was from one world to this world, in that transition, my trust in the Most High and my connection with the Most High allowed me to get to this space to do what I'm doing. Point is, my soul is who I am, and it is beyond any of the bullshit that's within this realm, especially in the mainstream media. And this is why I'm showing you this trending page right now, because you can see the adolescent childhood nature that's inherent within this. It's designed to keep you in that fourth grade, fifth grade mentality. Look at the faces of these people. Look at Stephen Colbert. Look at this guy. Look at this is all kids. These are little kids in grown people's suits. And what's interesting to a little kid? Drama, like high school jocks and cheerleader drama. That's what R. Kelly shit is. And because why it's high school and drama and all that drama is because why the fuck are you looking at one dude or making this whole situation about one dude when you have an entire establishment that's designed on raping kids? That an entire establishment, and not just a regular, not just like Walmart, not just like Radio Shack was raping a bunch of babies through a bunch of kids going through Radio Shack. No, an entire fucking church around the world that it's supposed to be connecting you to a higher spirit, some kind of, see, that's why people can't look at that shit. They can't pay attention to it because it's such an extreme contrast that they can't even comprehend that shit. So, like I said, if Radio Shack set up a whole bunch of Radio Shacks around the world and just started fucking little kids, you'd have something to say about it. But now, because it's ingrained in your family group, your family dynamics, your religion, your connection with the deep essence of who and what you are, you can't even face that. But what does the system do with that energy? See that disconnect right there? Look at all that energy that's in there, in that realm of abuse. What do they do with that? They focus it right on the most powerful people, the indigenous people, the so-called black and brown peoples, of the people of this entire realm that have been genocided. This is the new version of genocide. I'm not trying to downplay genocide, but what I'm talking about, when you just look at the numbers, look at how many people are dying a day right now, every day, based upon the so-called human agreements within this colonial universe, this Western so-called civilization. How many people daily are dying? Alcohol, healthcare, military, terrorism, stealing of land, stealing of resources, mind control, spirit control, the religious abuse. The list goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. How many fucking people are dying just because they were dying in giant groups all at one time because they were literally burying babies and kicking their heads down the fucking road? You don't believe me? Go research what happened to the indigenous Australians down there. They were burying the Tasmanian people only to where you see their heads, and for fun, these fucking conquistadors or these out there was the colonists had a game where they would kick the babies' heads off the fucking body down the road. How is that any different from using slave babies in Louisiana in the South in the United States as crocodile bait? See, this kind of consciousness is largely anti-human. Even the best, even the worst of this, in the most loose definition of what human is, you can't even comprehend it. This is why you don't have any definitions of it. This is why your whole reality has to be based upon a false interpretation of who and what you are in the past, the present, and the future. Because there is something very, very sick and disturbing and wrong with a certain group of people. And you can narrow it down to race if you like to, but I like to narrow it down to consciousness, including the obvious nature of race being involved in there. You don't have Filipino supremacists going around genociding people. You have any Polynesian supremacists invading Ireland? No. So this is not a fucking human thing. This is my main point. There's nothing fucking human about that. People like Joe Rogan and all these other people want to like this trending page. This is what it is. The MMA shit is to convince you that humans are just complex animals. What that does is it takes you away from your responsibility of finding out who and what you really are. What is really going on here? As long as you keep accepting the bullshit that this animalistic consciousness, people say it all the time. This reptilians things and reptilians, they put the reptilian shape-shifting shit in the Marvel universe and in the Captain Marvel movie. And what do you think they did in there? They made the shapeshifters fucking good guys. They made the shapeshifters victims, and Captain Marvel had to save them. That's what's going on. I've been saying this so many times before about they're going to convince you that the system is good. Like they sell the Constitution in 1776 and all that other shit. They're going to convince you that it's not only good, but it's the best thing. It's the best. This is what it's sold to you. The Constitution is the best intelligence in the whole fucking universe that's ever crossed this universe. The Constitution. That's what's being sold to you. Now, when you hear it like that, then it makes more sense about what's going on here. But we don't hear it like that. It needs to be said. This needs to be said. You are dealing with individuals who are telling you that they are the smartest beings in the entire universe. And look at what they are telling you is the smartest thing to ever be going down. Look at your healthcare system. Look at your education system. Look at your entertainment. Look at your politics. Look at your streets, look at your resources, look at nature, look at your history, look at your cultures, look at your relationships. Is this shit natural? Ain't nothing natural about it. The only thing natural about this is how unnatural it actually is and how unnatural it feels. The only natural thing about it is how unnatural it feels. This is my whole point about that's an actual intelligence. Feel how unnatural this shit feels. What it feels like. And know that that is something amazing that you have inside of you. That allows you. That's an intelligence. Once you tap into that intelligence, you will not only be able to see the bullshit of this garbage ass situation, but you will turn a language on inside of you and a connection on inside of you that has always been there, but it has just been turned off because the weight the conscious weight and the unconscious weight and the subconscious weight of this realm that has been manipulated by these cheap beings has closed off a lot of those circuits, has closed a lot of those doors, and we just don't access it anymore because we think it's, you know, extra. It's not extra. It's exactly who and what we are. The extra is this realm. The extra is the Big Bang and all that other bullshit. That's the extra shit. Until that shit dies, we won't be able to live, truly. That's why it's so important. So I'm going to close this out. So let me just, based upon what I was saying before, humanity. Like, what are the questions? Like, what is that shit? That's just accepted. Humanity. Humanity is like, humanity is a word, I've said this before, that could be compared to the American dream. Humanity is equivalent to the phrase American dream. It's an idea. It's a feeling. It's an atmosphere. It's a comparison to. The American dream is what? In comparison to the third world nightmare. Everybody can make it. There's hope here. So the United States is basically like the Eden for the hell that is the rest of the world. But who created Eden? Or who created the rest of the hell for the rest of the world? The same entities that created Eden. So now they're saying, well, Eden doesn't necessarily, Eden is for the whole world. So Eden needs to now be spread over to the whole world. And they say, instead of Eden, they say freedom. FreEden. FreEden. You want to be free? Okay, we'll just spread FreEden everywhere. So that's when you have Donald Trump talking about we're going to be the first hemisphere to be completely free, when he talks about freeing Venezuela and freeing Cuba and freeing and all these other countries who haven't been manipulated by the colonial universe, the colonial finance, you know, system. And this is why banks are so important. This is why the Jews are such a big thing, or the Jewish people are such a big-ish people, are such a big deal in this, because money is not the root of all evil. It's the intellect that allows the systems to go along with money that is the root of all evil. It's the allowance. It's the ignorance, like the Egyptian what is that? African proverb. So the African proverb through Egypt of saying that ignorance is evil. Ignorance is the root of all evil. It's not like ignorance is bliss, what is told out here. That's what's accepted. But ignorance is evil, not money and not all this other stuff. It's truly ignorance. So let me close this out. Yeah, so are we just here to find awesome teammates and reproduce better teammates for others? Is that what we're really here? Like, really ask these questions instead of accepting, like, a lot of and this is going to be old news. It's already old news, but like a lot of the old schools, they're like talking about their main thing is having a family and providing for your family. And that's the American dream. That's the old shit. That's the slave mentality. That's what that is. But they're still on it. It's this thing that connects you with something beyond this realm, because you're creating a baby that comes through the portal of your partner, and through this, that's your only soul connection that a lot of people have, is to bring another soul here. But there's no soul-to-soul connection when the soul gets here, the baby. Because the individual themselves are not them souls. They're not themselves. They are a reflection of what they think it is. But that's the thing. The connection, the organic connection that soul-to-soul baby and mother and father have, it's real in some kind of way. But like I said, those doors have been closed because they've been closed for generations. But since we have the feeling, kind of like with sex, you still have the feeling. It feels amazing. But like I said, it's not connected to anything deeper than more than those few seconds, or that one little basic connection that is not really of any kind of conscious awareness. It's just a thing that naturally happens. It feels good to orgasm. It feels good to raise a child. It feels good to teach that child a lot of these soul connections and learn. It feels good to teach people, like, and all this other stuff. Like, all these things feel good, but the information, intellect, the soul, that your purpose is not about feeling. It's not just about that. There's more. You are more complex than that. But like I said, the system wants to convince you that you are not complex at all. You're a cosmic mistake. So that is to remain gods and kings over you, to remain in power and have control. So yeah, so what are we just supposed to be teammates? Like, for me, am I just supposed to find like a cool teammate that I'm just gonna be cool with, and we work really well together? That's it. Is it that simple? This whole realm is just about you getting here. You as a soul, the complexities of your soul came into the complexities of this spirit vehicle to find a cheerleader, a jock finds a cheerleader, marries a cheerleader. They have a nice job and a nice house and a nice car, nice kids, a nice retirement thing, and that's it. That's what this whole fucking realm is about. This is why I take, talking about flat earth so seriously in one way, is because that shit is what's being sold to the people. It's not about flat versus globe. It's about what came about. It's what set that tidal wave up. What's all this other shit that came from the tidal wave of authority through that so-called intellect of the heliocentric intellect? What came later? What came later is this shit. You believing that your whole life is just supposed to be finding a cool ass teammate, like somebody that you're compatible with, that doesn't fuck. Is that it? For what? See, what that does is it puts the system in power again and takes the power away from you. Say you find a teammate, you have kids, then you got to take care of that team instead of addressing the world and how the world is so fucked up against all the people. Now you got to focus all your energy about taking care of the kids, your wife, the house, all this other stuff. So you're controlled in your free prison, and you're a god and king in your free prison cell. So as long as you have gods and kings in chains, in a God and King in chains universe, then everybody seems free, because the playing field is leveled. This is what is going on with the whole human story. We're all human. We're all one. That's what's being sold in the new age. That's why it's so important to speak about this stuff all at the same time. We're being downgraded. So another question is, why do we not have any idea of who we are or what this place is about? Like I said, I just answered that or raised that question and went in on that. It's a control measure. Your stupidity, your ignorance allows the system to remain God and King over you. The natural need to know. Why is there a natural need to know? So these are the questions that aren't there. That natural feeling there. What is that? Why is there a need there? See, that's the only thing that's really real. It's not the information. It's not what the details of all this stuff. It's your actual inclination. The stuff that's inside of you that pulls you to find out what's going on here. There's something there. Another thing to keep in mind is the whole swirling and mixed race, interracial thing. This is a heavy issue right now, and there are no real answers. There are only feelings involved in it. People who are defending swirling are defending it largely and not mentioning the attack against all the peoples in using swirling. A lot of the people who talk about swirling don't talk about the mixed race agenda being pushed by the system and how that's beneficial to the New World Order and New World System. See, that's the macro. But in order for people to defend their own little universe, they have to only talk about the micro, how we feel. It's about human. It doesn't matter what race you are. We should just be together. We're all compatible. We do all this. You know, it's reaction to. It's not really going to the depths of what's going on here. So, largely the interracial or the mixed race agenda, like I said, this is a good example. Is that who a lot of the we're all gonna be the same thing in 100 years or whatever. Would that be the same? Would that be a reality if colonialism didn't go about it it didn't exist? Would we still be sitting around talking about how we're all one and we're all human if colonialism didn't exist, which is a forcing agent? It forces you to intermingle. See, what happens is, just think about all like the conquistadors and the settlers. How did they have to sell, so-called settlers? How the fuck did they sell that they were nice people to the people that they left alive, that they didn't genocide? How the hell did they sell that to the people? They sold it to them by mixing with them. So now they have family members who are now cousins and nephews and all that other shit of, the conquistadors. So now they have to, and now fast forward 300, 400, 500 years later, or however many years later, now what's happening? Now you accept it because it's part of your life. It's part of your family. So point being is that the organic connection involved us doing our own things and us being beautifully diverse. What I'm seeing with the New Age agenda and this New World agenda is that who the fuck decided that mixing and all that shit is the human evolutionary trend? Who thought that? Who said that? Who said that that's going to be that's the reason why we're here and that's what we're supposed to be doing? What if it's the opposite? What if we're not supposed to? Not so much in we're not supposed to be like, don't do this. And even still, that's another thing. Like I said, I'm talking about the macro. On the micro end, people are going to do, I don't have any words for, that's not my business. People are going to do whatever they're going to do. On the macro scale, this is what I'm talking about. On a macro scale, there's different questions that need to be raised. Why is my personal interaction with my partner, my family, my wife, my whole thing, why is that any of your fucking business? Humanity, the race thing, why is that out there? Because the system has made it a talking point. It's made it a thing. And like I said, it had to make it a thing because in the time frames of colonialism, that was a defense mechanism. They had to say, we're all the same, we're all one, we're all blended, in order to keep you from kicking their asses out of your system. So they niced their way into your reality. And then they made you feel bad about it. Here's a good example of it. Even when you follow their own rules. I don't want to get too deep in because it's a whole different video, but this is a good example. Say you're crossing the street, you're jaywalking. In East Oakland, when you're crossing the street, people know this, and even in the rest of the world, when I went to Egypt, the same thing. That you know this, people in cars are not gonna stop when other people are crossing if you're not in a crosswalk, because the people who are not in a crosswalk, they are timing it. They can see way behind you. And they know how to cross the fucking street. But so-called white people have to be an authority on everything. And they have to also be the nice people in every situation. So what do? When you're crossing the street, they stop. And that stops all the fucking traffic behind them. Why? Because they're trying to be nice, right? They're being nice for you. But what they're not realizing is how they're fucking up all the traffic for all those other people, and they're only concerned with being nice. But in their world, they're concerned with you. And they think they're only concerned with you. They think they don't even think about them trying to be nice and how they're fucking up everything else. This is the kicker, though. When you tell them, cross the fucking street, you're stopping all this shit. What the fuck? I see it already. Stop. Don't stop. Let me just go. I'll stand in the street. I'm okay. When you say that, they now look at you like something's wrong with you. You're ungrateful. You're just a delinquent who's jaywalking, and I wanted to help you and keep you safe. How dare you? And then they drive off in a fucking, you see what I'm saying? Well, what's natural with the flow of the system, the rhythm that we're used to, we keep track and we watch out of our people in a different way. We are different on purpose. But since the authority of what has been put out there, our differences have now been criminalized. Our differences are now inhuman because our differences are counterproductive to the synthetic human definition of this reality. And as long as we keep accepting this, we're all the same, we're all on the level playing field. No, the fuck, we are not on a level playing field. I had a fucking asshole dude tell me this shit too. Oh, I don't think about everybody's all equal in this whole thing about everybody can make it. Older ass white dude telling me, basically get over it. Nothing's changed. Things are different now. A 65-plus-year-old man telling a white man, the rich as fuck, got all kinds of shit. Working still, though, this is why he's entitled to say that, because he's still working. He's still like doing stuff. So that's what makes him think that we're the same, because he's working and I'm working and we're working on the same sort of stuff. So we're even, right? But he doesn't want to look at how he got to where he was and how I got to where I am now. So and what we still have to deal with now. So in order for them to not look at themselves, what do they have to do? They have to demonize you or make you look like you're fucked up so they don't have to look at themselves. The same way, it's kind of similar to the street crossing situation, but it's a little bit different because when you're crossing the street, there's a rhythm there that certain people don't have. And a lot of people, you can compare this. I don't know if it's directly related to this, but the whole idea of so-called white people not knowing how to dance, that's a big deal. And like I said, that's not a universal thing, rhythm or something like that. But that's a thing that's out there in some kind of way on a massive scale to where, there's something dealing with rhythm and harmony. And that's a huge fucking deal because the rest of the people in this whole reality have their own, not only a really amazing rhythm, but they have a fucking a rhythm and a harmony that is very much different than everybody else's. And it's beautifully different. That's why I was saying with these questions on purpose, why the fuck is there such a push for we're all human? We're all one, because it's reactionary and they want to shut down what you're doing. This is the same way. Okay, so that question I just raised before is the same thing that's happening to the public education systems. They couldn't even allow you to play music in the public schools because that pulls out too much of your depths of who and what you are. You can't play the drums, you can't play the guitar, you can't play the trumpet, you can't play any of that shit because that's going to pull too much out of you that is threatening to the system that created the public education system in the first place. So they will not teach you to be a threat to their power, to their godhood. They'd rather take you out first. That's why the food is existing the way it is to stomp you out. So beforehand, before you realize anything, this is why older people are, figuring out how they wasted their whole lives away because they bought into an illusion. Now younger people are starting to figure that out at an earlier age, and now the system is feeling threatened because millennials are so-called millennials, or whatever label they want to put on people, are no longer taking the shit, no longer accepting the mind controls that the baby boomers and so on and so forth not only accepted, but they worshipped and adored and cherished as the evolutionary peak of humanity. We're not falling for that shit anymore. So we have the older ones who are still holding on to that shit, fighting. The grandparents are fighting their parents, and the parents are fighting the kids. And so you now have the kids who are the adults of today, like the youngest adults of today, who are now being attacked by their own fucking parents and their own grandparents and great-grandparents, along with the system. We are being attacked by them. Not in a sense that we can't handle it. Obviously, if we couldn't handle it, we wouldn't have fucking been able to qualify to do what we're doing, and we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. Some people can't handle it. Other people can. You see how this is why people are so heavily medicated and drugged out, because in so many different ways. Because this is another way of dumbing everything down and graying everything out. I know I said it was going to be a short. Here we are, almost an hour in. Okay. Natural need to know. They're saying, okay, yeah. So this is actually what the system is saying when they say we are all one. And this is what people are saying. When they say we are all one, we should just come together. Because that's just some like movie theater motive, like I said, high school basketball coach. This is all high school basketball coach motivational speaking. There's nothing really based in anything real. It's all just like, I hope you feel better soon kind of shit. So what they are saying, this is another thing we see. We don't see what they're actually saying when they say certain things. We listen to the words linearly. We don't listen to the consciousness non-linearly. The words linearly tell you one thing because you're in a linear universe that you've been conditioned to think you are. But there's a non-linear universe that is the essence of your soul, and what this realm is that we haven't even tapped into, that is threatening to the system. So in order to keep you away from that threat, they say we're all one. We're only here. Basically, when they're saying we're all human, they're basically saying you were born as a human being to mix races and be one. That's it. That was it. Because hundreds of years from now, we're all going to be the same. And so that's your physiological purpose here. Your non-physiological purpose here is to channel all of your physiological purposes into the evolutionary peak of this realm, which is technology, democracy, capitalism, so-called white supremacy, the colonialism program, everything that this system loves and adores. You're here to do that. Your soul came here to do that. That's what the system is telling you. And when they're telling you, or when it's telling you that, it's also saying this is your only purpose here, to mix and just be one. Now look at the opposite side. Like I said, in the micro scale, people are going to mix and do all that other stuff. That's not the same. It's two different worlds. A lot of people who focus on the micro agenda, they focus on that micro agenda to avoid facing the macro storyline. Let me say that again. A lot of the people who focus and dedicate all their time and energy to the micro storylines, all that like getting deep into the micro, they do that to avoid the macro, largely because they themselves haven't done that macro work. So like I said, people are going to mix, and that's a micro world. But on the macro scale, you have to understand that there is an intelligence that is attacking people who go against this system. And that's when you have to look at the questions of why are they selling this mixed race thing about all this other stuff. So that was another thing with the Captain Marvel stuff. The millennials, they were going after so-called millennials in there. With the whole political scene. It's something specific. I'll remember it later. But anyway, forget it. So yeah, this is another thing. What if we were supposed to be like, what if it's supposed to be different on purpose? What if all of our differences were supposed to be, what if Cuban music was supposed to be Cuban music? What if Cuban music is not supposed to be mixed with Irish music? What if Cuban music is supposed to remain Cuban music? Same goes for African music and all that other stuff. But what if Native American music, Indigenous American music? What if it's supposed to remain Indigenous American music? No, but you're forced, because of political agendas, you're forced to think that Indigenous American music, rhythms, harmonies, are supposed to be mixed with Irish, Scottish, all that other stuff. None of these questions, none of these belief systems would be existing if colonialism didn't happen. Not to the extent that they are today. To the extent that this is a belief system that's rooted into the essence of who and what you are. Who and what you are is told to you by the same people who genocided and slaughtered all of your ancestors. Every single definition of who and what you are has been gift wrapped for you. So they are saying we're only here to do certain things. What if it's supposed to be different? Beyond that, what if convincing everybody to mix is the key to this system achieving godhood? Or the people who are running this individuals, the beings that are running this synthetic system, what if that's the key to this system achieving godhood? Like, they created the intelligence that makes, from an intellectual perspective, them godly. But what if on a massive scale, they've already convinced people you're on a globe. On a massive scale, what if convincing everybody psychologically, which is the doorway into the spiritual convincing, the spiritual warfare, what if convincing everybody that they are only here to mix, that they are only here to do what the system has told them to do? What if that is actually the key to achieving godhood? Because you have gathered a consciousness of an entire realm and have shifted its focus to whatever it is that is beneficial to you, instead of what's beneficial to the system and the people who make up that system. What if? Does it seem like, for people who are truly open-minded, critical thinkers, does it seem far-fetched in any kind of way? No, to me, it actually seems like that's exactly what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to be convinced to mix in order to sell the New World agenda. The same way Conquistadors had to convince you that mixing with them in South America and North America, they had to convince you that was the thing to do in order to adjust the way you responded and acted to their presence in your land. Because like I said, we're talking about conquerors. Conquerors of consciousness, conquerors of land, conquerors of the soul, conquerors of this universe. However you want to see it, it's the mechanisms that make up those actions that actually matter and that need to be focused on. So I would just ask people to have those discussions a little bit more rather than the linear shit. The micro stuff is going to be what it is. That's naturally, as people, this is how it works. As people respond to the macro, they will engage their micro into the macro. So, if that's the case, start addressing the macro and you will start affecting the micro. It just won't be like immediate. You're not going to have the biggest subscriber base. You're not going to have a whole bunch of people kissing your ass. You're not going to have the best this. You're not going to have the best that, because people on a large scale are dedicating their consciousness to the micro. The large-scale consciousness of people have been downsized to the limited micro-scale consciousness of the individual. And an entire realm of consciousness is being missed out. The entire realm of macro consciousness is being missed out on purpose, because that is the direct threat to us, or to the system, which empowers us to get out of that system. That's why the macro is not being addressed, and that's why the micro is being overemphasized. On that note, I'll leave it there. Thank you for joining me, and until next time, from all my relations, and thank you for the support. From all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.